Welcome to the Emporia Public Schools podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Allison Anderson Harder, Superintendent. This podcast is our way to provide students, staff, parents, and community members easy access to information on a variety of topics. Once you've listened to a podcast, you will notice a link to an electronic form that I would encourage you to use and provide feedback or ideas about the podcast you just listened to or to share ideas for future podcasts. Today, I am visiting with Ms. Joy McGhee, Principal at Jones Early Childhood Development Center. Welcome, Joy.
Hi, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So just talk to us a little bit about your professional experience and how you came to the position at Jones Early Childhood Development Center.
Okay. I am from a family of educators. My parents were both teachers. All of my 4 siblings have worked in schools, so it was a very natural fit for me. I started out education as a kindergarten teacher. I taught kindergarten for 11 years, and 5 of those years I taught transitional kindergarten, which was for kindergartners that we flagged at our roundup process that had not had any preschool. So I was able to kind of have a year of kindergarten with them that started out more like preschool, but then hopefully got them on track and ended them at kindergarten level. So I was in my same building for 11 years, and then I was privileged to be chosen to be the principal of that building. So I continued in that building, Winfield Scott Elementary in Fort Scott, Kansas, where I was the principal for 4 years. It's a kindergarten first and second grade building. And as I was just thinking about my future and what I wanted to do as an educator, I wanted to have an experience in another district. I had been my entire career in one district in one building. And so I started looking around for opportunities, and early childhood is very near and dear to my heart, and was very excited to see an early childhood principal position open here. So applied for that and was very lucky to be chosen to work with the staff at Jones.
Well, we are glad that you're here. And you had a little bit of a journey. So your first year was really at Maynard.
Correct.
And
yes.
then you preparing for the move to Jones, and then just starting a whole new staff and getting used to a new building. So talk a little bit about that experience.
Absolutely. I was also fortunate in Fort Scott to be a teacher and then an administrator through a bond process. So brought some of that experience with me as I came here to Emporia. My first year at Maynard was a lot of making plans for the move and what's going to go with us and what's going to stay and what are things going to look like once we get to our new facility that is designed specifically for our early learners. And then the move really went very smoothly. My staff are champions and they worked really hard and have just been very, very excited to be in our new space. So thanks to the district and the community and the Jones Foundation for making that happen for our children and our staff. That has been a wonderful thing. And really this year has just been a lot of dreaming and planning. How can we use this space to the fullest? What are some new things we can do? What are some ways to involve the community and our parents and families and our students that we couldn't do at Maynard because we didn't have the space or the room?
Well, and speaking of room, one of the great additions is the library, having a dedicated library for our youngest learners. So talk a little bit about that.
Yes, absolutely. I also love that the library is just in the heart of the building. It is connected to our open entryway, and it is part of our hub, our main hub, so kids can go in there with their classes, and their teachers take them in every week to check out books. We also have a partnership with the Emporia Public Library, so they come once a month to read stories to our kids and introduce them to books, and that space has been wonderful to let them utilize it as well. When we have had parent nights or even open house, our kids want to take their families in and look at the books and show them the books that we have, and that has been really exciting.
Well, and another feature is the playground. Playground is so awesome, and just the surface is spongy, so if little ones fall, then they're less likely to get hurt. And then just the colors. I mean, just talk a little bit about that, and then the accessibility for some of our students that are in wheelchairs.
Our playground is absolutely one of our favorite things about our new building. It is amazingly designed. It is designed for, you're right, accessibility for students of all different physical ability levels, but also students who have different sensory needs, students who like different kinds of movement are all included with various options on that playground. It has the poured in place, very spongy surface. You're right, under anything that they could climb on or potentially fall from. That happens when they're little. And then the rest of the playground is actually playground turf. And so it is also pretty soft. It's also very spongy. It looks beautiful all year round. And then it is so brightly colored, so welcoming, so inviting for students. Every time we give a tour of the building, it's our big thing we like to showcase, take people out. Adults are notorious for going and bouncing on the blue squishy surface and trying out some of the swings or getting on our new adaptive merry-go-round. So the staff and adults get as excited about the playground as the students do. Another of our favorite features of the playground is that it was built with a large awning off of the building with some sensory toys and some panels and some easels for art, that even on days when it's just raining a little bit, we can still go outside, get some fresh air, get some movement in underneath that awning, and has allowed us to be able to go outdoors more than if we did not have a partially covered space on our building. So that has been very, very wonderful as well.
And access to restrooms.
Yes, I can't believe I forgot that because we love that. There is a restroom outside on the playground that our students can use instead of, our building is very large. So walking a 3-year-old all the way back inside to their classroom to go to the restroom could take up a lot of their recess time. So yes, we love that there is a restroom accessible to our staff and our students on the playground during playtime, and they don't have to miss out on a lot of recess time if they need to use the restroom. That's another wonderful thing.
Awesome. There's just so many wonderful things about that building.
Yes, absolutely. We also love our Discovery Kitchen that we have. We've been able to utilize that space a lot as a full working kitchen on the front of our building, and we've used that to do science experiments and to make muffins and to decorate cookies and to do all sorts of things this year with our classrooms, and we're able to utilize that space for some of our family nights as well.
Well, and we have a great resource closet that was started by HGK McCown Gordon. They donated a lot of those items to begin with.
Yes, and we have we started the year with clothing and with food and with toiletry supplies and household goods, and have worked a lot with Heather Wagner through the District Family Services, and in stocking that pantry and making sure that it's available to not just our students but any families in the district that could utilize some of those things. We were very fortunate during the formula shortage to have the fire department donate some formula that we could utilize. We'll talk about our infant toddler services and providers in a minute, but those staff who go into homes and work with families with infants were able to utilize that pantry and help them with formula during a time when it was really hard to find.
Thank you. Well, we've talked a lot about the makeup of the building and all the great features of that building. Talk about the services. So what services are provided through Jones Early Childhood Development Center?
We have 3-year-old preschool and 4-year-old preschool. Most of our sections are half-day sections. We do have one section of 4-year-old preschool that is an all-day section. The students who attend Jones because they either meet one of the state at-risk indicators, and there's 11 of those, all varying things from what language is spoken in the home to how old the parents were when they had the child or their level of income or education. Or students can attend Jones because they have a need for special education and related services. So they might have a developmental delay or a speech delay or a motor delay, and they can qualify to attend Jones as a student needing special education services. We had 226 students this year. People are always surprised by that number. That's lots and lots of littles. We provide tons of activities for play and social interaction in the classroom. That's part of the DNA of our building, is to meet those social, emotional skills and to give students really good play skills and problem solving skills and personal skills to interact with each other and to manage themselves. We also have a lot of academic things going on. So our students have whole group and small group instruction every single day. We provide services in the classroom as much as we can because we want students to be with their peers. There are times when they come out for a small group or to work specifically with our speech therapist, but as much as we can, we like students to be around their peers.
Great. So probably wondering, when kids are 3 and 4 years old, how are they screened? How would a parent who maybe has some questions about if their child is hitting their developmental milestones or if there might be a delay, what would you have them do?
Absolutely. So you can call the office at Jones, 412-8150. And my secretary, Amber, or Veronica, who answer the phones, can either, depending on the age of the child, send you to our infant toddler program because they have their own screeners and methods that they use to determine if a child would qualify for their services, or they send you to one of our itinerant special education teachers who go out into the community and who provide services for children at other locations and also handle those screeners for kids that are not currently attending Jones. So we have a variety of staff that are able to assist that, and we are screening kids all year round. So there's not a specific timeline or date. We are always willing and ready to screen children.
So that's 12 months. It does not matter. It does not follow the school year. It's really whenever there's a concern, they contact, and then that appointment is set up.
Absolutely. That is correct. We are having meetings and doing evaluations on kids right now that are 3 and 4 4 years old for next school year to get services in place and to help families determine what the needs of those students are.
Early intervention is huge. It can make such a huge difference in a child's life. And so I don't think people really understand that really those services can start and they really are available birth through age 21. Talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I think that one, you're right, common misconception is that parents don't know that there's help available to them before their child starts school. So those early services are so important and so life-saving sometimes for families. It is a big relief to have that extra support. So our infant toddler program, which is Flint Hills Infant Toddler, we provide services from birth, you're absolutely right, to age 3 when they could start school or a daycare or community preschool. And those services are primarily provided in the home or a natural environment for the child. So it is not a direct therapy where they come in and work specifically on speech, but those providers go to the setting where the family is and work on goals of the family. And it might be that they want to sit down together and have a meal. So those providers go at mealtime and they help them set up for success for having a meal together as a family. Or maybe they want to be able to go to the park and play safely on the equipment or leave without a meltdown. And so those providers go to the park with that family and they give them some tips and some strategies and help them through that transition. And so that is really, really, I think, powerful to families to have that support at the time when they need it during a routine that is important to them. And they really form very close bonds with those providers and see them as a very big support.
Well, we are so fortunate. We have talented service providers that are very, have a lot of experience and have a lot of different approaches. And if they don't know the answer, they have contacts that they can reach out to and resources. So really, really thankful for those providers that we have.
Absolutely. And we have that team, that infant toddler team has a speech language pathologist. They have an occupational therapist. They have a school-based social worker. They have 2 early childhood special educators. So that team is very well rounded and has a lot of different areas of expertise that they can bring to the table for any of those children that we're working with.
For families whose children would qualify for infant toddler services, the services are very intentional. Those are outlined in the individual family service plans. So that's something that those service providers develop with the families. That's just not something where they come in and tell them. It really is a collaborative process. So talk a little bit about that as well.
Yes, very much so. Those providers from the very first visit are talking to the family about the routines of the family. What does it look like when you wake up? What does breakfast look like? What do you do after breakfast? Where do you go during the day? Where's a place that you hang out? Do you go to the park? Do you go to the library? And they really just specifically talk through an entire day with a family about what challenges there are, what are their favorite times of the day. And then with the family, they start working on, okay, what are times that are challenging for you? What are times that are challenging for your child? What could we support you within those times? So it is very routine based. It is very based on the needs of the family, and they are a huge voice and a collaborative piece of that process. Those providers couldn't write those plans without the family members, so it is a very involved partnership.
And those service providers are on the go. So talk about the area that they cover. It's a pretty large area.
Absolutely. It's a very large area. And so their caseload is split somewhat by geography. So they cover Chase County, Coffee County, Greenwood County, Lyon County, Morris County, and Wabaunsee County in USD 417. So it is a very big area, and they are some days of the week in some counties and some days not. So sometimes scheduling can be somewhat challenging given that they have such a large area. But there are staff members available to see people in those counties, and they see people during the daytime. They also have some evening time availability. And so their schedules are supposed to be flexible so they can best work with the family towards what they need and find challenging.
So something new that we're starting this year in August for our USD 253 employees is a child care classroom. And one of those classrooms will have 4, but one of those classrooms will be at Jones. So talk a little bit about that. It will not be really part of Jones staff, but we're providing staff members in there that would be trained through KDHE and then having a supervisor as well. So talk a little bit about what benefit that will give our staff.
Absolutely. So we have a classroom, and it follows all those KDHE guidelines. It has its own bathroom. It has access, an exterior door. This one happens to open up onto the playground, so that will be very convenient for them. And you're correct, those children and those staff will be their own entity, but they will be housed at Jones, which, is a very nice facility and is very safe and created very much in mind for little people. So one of the things that was pointed out, we had a tour with the Kansas Teacher of the Year crew, and Erica Huggard, who works at the high school, was part of that tour. And she mentioned something that I had not thought about before. Jones, through the new construction, has 2 mother's rooms for nursing mothers or mothers who need to pump while they're at school. And she mentioned the possibility that if a staff member had a child in our building at the daycare, they could go get them and take them to the mother's room to nurse during the day and then take them back. I had not thought of that possibility. And she thought that, that was such an exciting feature that could be available to people if their child happened to be in the same building where they were working. So I thought, wow, that would be a very good benefit for those parents who might have a child in the same building where they're working. I think it's also just it makes sense to have those kids in the buildings where the littlest learners are, and we won't necessarily mix with them or do things with them, but they will have access to some of the same things and places that our students do.
Yeah, we're really, really lucky. And just like even the toilets, having the right size of the toilets and the sink and the chairs and just everything that was built intentionally for our youngest and littlest learners.
Absolutely. And, things like the library and the multipurpose room and other spaces that they will be able to take those children to not be in that room all day, but that are designed and safe for small children.
Great. Well, Joy, thank you for being here today. Is there anything else that you would like to share that you haven't been asked or just want people to know about?
I think I just want to give a shout out to my staff. My staff are so well trained and so passionate about early childhood. They work so hard for the students and the children that we work with, and they really, really care about putting students' needs first and making sure that all children are growing and all children are getting what they need. So we are so thankful when families trust us to be the first educational step for their children, and we take that job very, very seriously. And my staff is really committed to the success of all the children that we have and see and work with at Jones.
Thank you. Well, and that just reminds me too, just with the bond construction project, I go back to that playground. As we have every bond construction project at every school, staff members have those that classrooms are going to be affected or built for their needs. They have input, and we could not have designed that playground. HDK had some different ideas, but then having the teachers who really work with those students and know that for students in wheelchairs, they need to have different items in the playground that will really motivate them to be mobile over to those areas and play with the other kids.
Absolutely. And it is very apparent that teachers had input in this process, from the bathroom on the playground to some of the functions of the classroom. So that is very apparent that they had a voice. And there are often times when they mention, yeah, we talked about that when we're giving a tour or talking to someone new about our building.
Yeah, well, we are very, very excited. And thank you for being here, Joy.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
As we conclude this episode, we would like to remind our listeners that below the podcast link, there is a link to an electronic form for anyone to provide feedback or ideas about the podcast you may have just listened to, or to share ideas for future podcasts. We will end on our Emporia Public Schools mission statement. We engage, we empower, we inspire. Thank you for listening, and watch for upcoming episodes.